Hello, everyone. Today I've got Jack Porteous from Samarkand Global. He's their client services director. And Samarkand have offices in the UK and China. And their mission is to make China e-commerce as easy as selling on your own.com. So I thought it would be great to have Jack here today to give us some more information about how they work and some of their services.
Thank you very much for having me, Ali. It's great to be here.
Great. Thanks, Jack. I think the first thing I wanted to do was obviously your background. You've got a long background and history of working with China and with brands going into China from China British Business Council, Department of International Trade, and now obviously Samarkand. What are some of the key issues that you see beauty brands specifically, if you can talk to that, face when they're entering China?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who don't know me, which is probably some of the audience, right? I get around and speak at a lot of things, but I'm sure there's some people who haven't seen my face just yet. I was the head of retail and e-commerce for the China Britain Business Council for 3 years, just over 3 years, and I moved over to Samarkand Global in April. And we are a technology company and a distributor, TP, who help beauty and health clients primarily, but also people from other sectors in consumer goods access the China market in a simple, accessible and profitable way. So for beauty brands specifically, I think there's three big challenges. I mean, there's a million other challenges, right? Don't get me wrong. You can never keep it to a short list, but for the sake of keeping this interview to the allotted time, I think we should probably stick to three. So the first, I think, is particularly pertinent at the moment with global travel restrictions and COVID and the way that the world is. I think finding the right partner is really tough. So COVID, as I said, has made this even harder because you can't travel to China necessarily, and there's fewer Chinese traveling to the UK. It's much harder to meet people in person and get an idea of who they are and what they do. So it's kind of a challenge of finding the right type of relationship, because there are various different business models available to enter China, some of which are quite unfamiliar to brands in Europe. You could enter with a traditional distributor, but with that you're sacrificing a lot of visibility, a lot of control. You don't know how your brand is going to be presented, you don't know where it's going to go, and and we've spoken to a lot of brands that have, and in my previous job I spoke to even more brands who'd been in that kind of relationship with a distributor for a few years. Sometimes it works amazingly, it's a perfect fit, there's no problems, but then other times there's a big communication barrier. The transfer of information in both directions is difficult and doesn't work so well, and problems start to arise. So that's kind of one route. Another route, appointing kind of a service provider for e-commerce, a TP company, which is one of the things that we do distribution as well, but that is high cost. It adds choosing the right partner is difficult because they're the kind of companies that will just put massive numbers in front of you and expect you to bite, because of course China is 1.4 billion people, and if you can just sell one of your one of your highlighters, or one of your skin creams, or one of your shampoos, whatever it is, to half of the Chinese population, then you're going to have made a huge amount of money, right? So it all seems
if only.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that finding that right partner is really, really tough. Secondly, it's a super competitive market, and people get, and this is linked to that last one as well, people get really wowed by the numbers and the figures, and every presentation about China that I've ever done and that I've ever been to has some of those stats just to make people go, oh wow, China is a massive opportunity, it's so impressive, it's so big, and it is, but that doesn't mean that it's free, or that it's
anything but
or that it's suddenly a really easy thing to just latch onto and be able to get kind of a huge amount of sales, right? If you're looking at it as an easy add-on or a way to fill a shortfall that you're experiencing from your European retailers in the short term, it's just not going to work. So it's super competitive. If you've got no budget to spend on marketing, if you've got no budget to spend on product localization, development, whatever, all the little things that add up and you might need, then you're going to struggle to crack it unless you find a distributor who's going to fund all of that for you. But then that's the loss of control kind of balance, right? The last challenge is something that I'm asked about every day at the moment, which is animal testing. So
me too, all the time.
If you'd asked me 5 years ago whether I'd be such an expert on kind of the Chinese cosmetics regulation landscape, I probably wouldn't have expected it. But
No.
it's an interesting challenge at the moment. China is in a period of transformation, and in the way that China has developed in all areas, it has quite sensibly taken an approach that it wants to do it on its own terms, and it wants to change regulations in a way that makes sense for the specific circumstances of China, which I think is a good thing. As somebody, look, I'm a vegetarian, mostly vegan. I don't want animal testing to carry on, but I also want any changes that China make to be long lasting and to be done right, and for it to be part of a long-term shift towards the correct treatment of animals and the safe testing of cosmetics as well, which is fundamentally what it's about, right? So there's a lot of buzz at the moment that the laws are going to be changing in January. I'm trying to keep everybody quite calm about that, because in the UK, I think we're still struggling for a bit of clarity on the process that that the brands are going to have to adhere to in order to get the correct certificates to go through the registration process for entry. There's something called a GMP, a good manufacturing process certification, that in the early drafts of CSAR, the regulations that China have put out, has to be awarded by a government body or a quasi-government body. The UK government doesn't do things like that, and most European governments don't do things like that. So there's kind of some working around to be done there. The other thing is that China has historically been very slow at adding new ingredients to its approved list. So I think it's only 30 ingredients in the last 12 years have been added to the approved list, which is absolutely nothing. So for a lot of brands, that's going to rule out the whole process to start off with, and it's going to, even if that accelerates, which I anticipate it probably will accelerate now, it's going to take a little while for that to come through. And then, of course, for special use cosmetics. So this change only applies to non-special use cosmetics. So anything that's got SPF in, anything that has got claims about hair growth or hair removal or anything like that would still have to go through animal testing for general import. They're the three big challenges, and to kind of cycle round back to Samarkand on them. So I've slipped back into CBBC giving out loads of free information kind of position, right? But I think it's all kind of, we are a specialist in cross-border e-commerce. So cross-border e-commerce is the route that beauty brands take to go to China without testing on animals at the moment. Everything we do is cross-border e-commerce, and I don't see that shifting in the short term. But of course, kind of the medium-term opportunity is that general import piece for as many of the beauty products as we can. I think, the finding the right partner part of it. We're based in the UK. We have got a team of about 50 in the UK and about 45 in Shanghai, plus a couple of people in Hong Kong. We're looking at opening offices next year, in one in mainland Europe and one in another Asian city as well. So we're expanding quite rapidly at the moment. So we are kind of where the brands are as well, and part of the difference that we offer is that our brand management happens where the brand is. So I head up a team of brand managers based in the UK, and we're looking after the relationships with our brand partners, making sure they know what's going on, communicating with them about upcoming promotions, getting their support for gift with purchase on specific channels or whatever it might be, and helping them to understand and navigate the market with us, because we want it to be a journey that we go on together with the brands that we work with, because if the brand understands, then they're more invested, and we can work together for longer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I would definitely echo your 3 key challenges. And I agree with you. I don't think that these new changes with the regulation are going to dramatically change cross-border e-commerce in the near future. So for brands that I'm working with, we're still very much looking at cross-border e-commerce. And the biggest challenge we always have is finding the right partner. And, there's a fit thing there as well, but having a team that is on the ground in the UK or in Europe to be able to work directly with the brand, but has also their own in-house team in China, I think that's a huge advantage. And I think that's something that brands, maybe if they haven't been in China, they might not appreciate how helpful that will be. But if they're brands that have been in and changing partners, they will know that that is a massive, that's a massive advantage, because the communication, it's more than just language. There's a lot of things that need help, and a transparency thing. I think a transparency thing that you guys will provide, and we can talk about that a bit later, is really key.
I guess the way we look at it is that our team in the UK, my team, the brand management team, we are kind of there as the people who are internalizing all of those communication issues that you would normally have between a Chinese distributor and the brand in the West. So, it's a big headache for me and my team, because we're the ones being, trying to bridge all of those gaps and resolve those kind of points of conflict, or the areas where things aren't clear. But I think that function is really, really important, because we are so used to talking to brands about China, about the market, and about the way things work, that just by them understanding it reduces the amount of confusion and the number of problems from day one.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, why don't we go on from that and talk about sort of the different types of services that Samarkand Global has, because you've got a few different things and they can work for different size brands, and I think it'd be interesting to go through.
Yeah, definitely. So we are, as I said, we're a distributor in TP. So that's kind of one side of our business. And that is very heavily focused in the health and beauty space. So what I mean by that is we buy and sell products from beauty brands, and we distribute them through various social commerce channels. So whether that's resellers on Taobao who are running skincare or cosmetic specialist stores, or whether that's a KOL-led channel on the WeChat ecosystem or Little Red Book ecosystem, where the KOL also has an e-commerce function within their kind of official account, so that we can leverage their audience to be able to kind of promote products to their customer base. And that, we try and encourage customers to think about those channels as retailers, really, and we are a distributor selling to retailers, or e-tailers, really. But sure. And some of them are as prestigious as being in Harrods or Galeries Lafayette or Bergdorf or wherever it is that you're aspiring to be in European or US markets. We work with some really big beauty influencers who've got platforms that turn over in excess of $150 million a year. It's not kind of a little eBay seller, or it's not no disrespect to mums on Facebook's groups, because I'm sure they do good business, but it's a much more serious operation than that, right? So that's one side of what we do. And obviously, because we're buying the products, we are fairly selective about the kind of brands that we work with, because they have to fit in with the channels that we're serving. That we also, from the TP point of view, can run stores for people. So if perhaps you're a slightly bigger brand, or you've been through a bit of distribution and think that your product works, and you know that that there is a market, and you want to make more of an investment in having a direct to consumer storefront, then we can operate as a trade partner, a TP, running stores on Tmall Global, on Little Red Book, WeChat mini programs, whatever the relevant platform is. We've got a good relationship with them so that we can run those for you. And the kind of the newest offering that we've got, which is one of the we've invested a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort into developing it, is called Nomad Checkout. And the idea behind that is there are a group of Chinese consumers out there who want to experience Western brands in their fullest form, right? And they are therefore shopping on their global.com websites, typically. China has historically been a marketplace driven market, Tmall Global, JD Worldwide, all of these, and that is still true, right? 90% of sales are still going through those, but 10% is still a really nice piece of the market in China. And if you've already got traffic coming to your website, or you've got some partners in China that can help you drive traffic, you can do some influencer campaigns or whatever it might be on a lower level, then giving Chinese consumers on your website the right kind of experience is really important if you want them to ever come back and shop with you again. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so Nomad Checkout solves a few problems for the consumer. It enables Chinese payment methods, so Alipay and WeChat Pay. Chinese consumers don't use Visa, MasterCard, American Express type solutions. They use Chinese payment methods, so we accept them. And the checkout flow itself is fully in Chinese and collects all the information for customs clearance. So ID number and all of these things that perhaps your standard Shopify checkout or whatever wouldn't collect that, right? So our specific checkout flow that they go through is hosted in China. It's in Chinese, so it loads seamlessly, works quickly, collects all the relevant information, and doesn't glitch while they're trying to check out and cause them a load of headaches about whether they've just paid for something that they're not going to get, right? So that's one. And then the other part is the logistics that it really, really improves for them. So it's cleared through customs through the cross-border e-commerce route, which is a specific sales channel into China. So normally if you're sending something via big international courier, it will go through what's called CC, consumer to consumer channels. 75% of the time parcels just fly through that and don't get inspected, but 25% of the time they get stopped. The customer will have to go down the post office, pay an additional duty, tax, fees, and have to pick up their parcel, right? So it's a really bitty consumer experience to have 1 in 4 parcels, and that proportion is increasing every year as well. But one in 4 parcels stopped there. So we're cleared by cross-border e-commerce. Tax is prepaid on all products. And so it means it gets into their chosen delivery place in their hands, and there's no problems at all. They're giving a tracking link as well for the entire process, so it's a fully tracked delivery with SF Express. SF Express are China's most trusted courier company. They're one of the biggest. So it gets from you to them, and they know where it is along that whole process. From the brand's point of view, you just have to ship to us in the UK, or if you're located in another country, we do have solutions with SF Express as well, where you can ship to one of their hubs. It's an easy process from you, and it's not a big integration for your website. It's a couple of lines of code that provides a separate checkout for Chinese consumers that only displays to consumers who are from China when they land on your website. And so it doesn't dynamically alter or take over your website in any way like some of the other kind of checkout solutions that are available for global markets do. So it's, from the brand, it's a really easy, lightweight solution that provides an amazing customer experience, the same that you would be giving to your customers in the West. And we think that is a great solution for small brands because it's lightweight, low cost. Your budget can flex. So if you're doing some KOL marketing and they can drive traffic to your website, then it's all coming through to you. You're fully in charge of your stock levels, right?
I think it's a great, I really think
easier
it's a
sell.
great solution. I think it's a really great solution, as you said, for small brands that are, wanting to start to build their
Yeah.
awareness. And maybe they're building their awareness with Chinese in their own market, or maybe
Yeah.
they're starting to do some activation in China. But, you want to have a place where they can buy your product, right? You need, how frustrating is it for a Chinese person to see this great product, be interested in it, and not be able to transact? And I think being able to transact on your own website rather than, through a third party where they have to search for you, they have to find you on a WeChat store or whatever, to be able to, I think it's a really good solution. So I'm sure that you will have lots of brands taking that up. I know it's just launched, hasn't it? So.
Yeah, it has. So we've gone live on a few websites this month who are kind of our test group. They're all Shopify websites. We're also launching with Magento and WooCommerce integrations in January, February. So kind of the three major ones will be completed in the next month or two, and then we're moving to BigCommerce and Salesforce as well later next year. So it's great for those small brands who've got a little bit of budget. It's also great for slightly bigger brands who've got a bit of awareness. Maybe you're a fashion brand, you've got 15 stockists across 5 cities in China or something. You've sold to a load of little boutiques, or you're a beauty brand with a couple of Taobao kind of resellers who are buying from you, and it means you're already getting traffic from China to your website, but it's just not converting. We think that this could be a really easy fix to turn that conversion from 0% to 5% or whatever your average conversion is, to get those transactions flowing. And then the kind of other group that it's suitable for, just so that I'm being clear, it's suitable for everyone, is bigger companies who will have a lot of traffic to China, and some of those companies might have decided that the major marketplaces aren't for them. So often multi-brand retailers in particular have struggled to make it work on Tmall Global. In beauty, you can look at someone like Space NK, who found it really difficult to make Tmall Global work for them. And for those kind of brands where the margins just don't really work out to be selling on Tmall Global, but you've already got the amazing level of awareness and visibility and trust because of your position as a retailer in the UK or an online retailer with a huge reach, then this solution gives a kind of direct to consumer route to China that removes one of the hands that's kind of taking from the money pot in the middle, right? That's kind of it's just shortening the route to market so that the margins work out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think obviously it's a great solution, and as you said, for all different levels. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely keen to recommend it to clients. So then the other question I had was around brands that are starting out, especially if they're in the UK. Obviously, they want to start building some awareness with the Chinese. They might be small brands, they might be medium-sized brands, but they need to start building that awareness. In the UK, obviously, you've got daigous, so people buying on behalf of their friends and family and other people in China. And then you've also got, more personal product hunters. What do you think that brands could do in the UK to really start that?
So again, 2020 has changed everything, right? Like it's been such an odd year. My advice when I was at CBBC to small brands or medium brands who are just starting on their China journey is that you need to do whatever you're doing well in your home market before you even think about China, right? If you are a luxury skincare brand, say, and you're not in Harrods, Selfridges, Liberties, Fenwick, Harvey Nichols, you're not in any of them, then you need to probably concentrate on getting a couple of those key stockists in first before you even think about China, because that is the quickest way to get Chinese eyes on your products, is to be in an established retailer where Chinese are already going. It's really, really expensive to build an audience from nothing in China. So you need to do as much as you can as part of your general business development in the UK, Europe, US, wherever it is, to grow in order to be, the Chinese consumer in the days of travel, which are hopefully coming back in the next 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Will be 40-50% of spend on Oxford Street in London, or in Galerie Lafayette in Paris, right? The Chinese is the number one consumers there.
Yeah.
So if you're in those kind of stores, then you're getting Chinese eyes. There are Chinese people buying your products for sure. So you need to do that. In terms of talking to Daigou and kind of these personal product hunters, again, they all look at those stores. They look at whether you're listed on Feel Unique and Look Fantastic and Cult Beauty and all of these places as well, because something that Daigous aren't interested in is investing time in building pages and buying products for things that are just going to sell nothing, right?
Sure.
So that you need to convince people that it is going to sell through by selling through in your home market. I think that's kind of my biggest piece of advice. We manage a network, so we've got a team who manage our kind of Daigou sales, both from a relationship management and keeping customers happy point of view, because some of these stores on Taobao that are run by Daigou have got 100,000 followers and turn over huge amounts, and some are much smaller, but also from a price management point of view as well. We kind of set maximum and minimum pricing, and obviously it's not enforceable, but we can stop selling to people if they're not respecting the suggested pricing that we're putting in place. So I think people always saw kind of, if I can just find 5 Daigou who'll be able to sell my products in China, then it'll give me a kickstart. I think it still needs to be a managed process. It's better done by a partner than it is by you, or it's better happening organically because they've found you in places where they were already looking. So I think understanding about that. So yeah, my number one advice is talk to Samarkand Global. My number 2 advice is probably attend some China Britain Business Council stuff as well, right? Give a shout out to my previous employer.
Your alumni, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then, I mean, the last question is really about beauty trends for beauty brands in China that they should be aware of, like in order to make their launch more successful. What sort of one thing that you think that they should really know about?
Slightly backwards way of answering this question, I would say that it's usually not the same as whatever you're selling in Europe. It's often not the same, right? So the number of brands that will come to me and say that they're organic and vegan and kind of low water and low emissions and all these things, which are kind of nice add-on sell points in China, but are very rarely the main thing. So product efficacy is really important. Absolutely number one. And something that I think is really difficult, and I don't have an answer to at the moment, is packaging as well, because we've got a big trend in Europe of brands doing minimal packaging, trying to reduce everything from an environmental impact. Chinese consumers want impressive packaging. They want something to be branded. They want that experience of unboxing something, of like something to be beautiful when they buy it. So finding a way that doesn't impact on your commitment as a company to reduce your carbon footprint and your plastics use and all the rest of it, plus then also still being an attractive solution for Chinese consumers. I think that's one of the big challenges that brands face. But
I mean, I agree. I think it is something. I think it's something that's changing. I think that we're seeing a lot of things, reports coming out. We're seeing much more conversation about sustainability in China, and obviously with a lot of government initiatives to do with recycling and the environment. You know, the government's pushing it as well, which always helps accelerate things in China, because people do have to follow. So I think that's definitely something that will change, but I agree at the moment it's still not a high priority. And something that I often work with brands with is looking at their messages. You know, they'll have a hierarchy of messaging for the UK or for their home market, but in China we just might change that around a bit, and may not lead with organic, for example, especially because there's issues with using the word organic in China as a claim. But otherwise, but not just for that, but also really for what will resonate with the consumer. And I've done that with quite a few brands. And I think brands have to be open to that. They have to be receptive to that. You know, it's not changing who you are. It's just putting one message forward first and then having the other messages after that. I think that's a piece of work that brands need to do as they decide to enter the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, working with you would be a brilliant way for any brand to sort out their positioning for the China market as well. Because I think Chinese consumers want to access, the reason they're buying imported products is because they believe in the quality, they believe that that there is some kind of like cool associated with it. There's you know, there's a lot of positive things about it. So you don't want to change the essence of your brand. It's just about drawing out the right things from what you're already doing. And having somebody who's an expert in the China market, but also with such a keen eye on beauty trends as you, I think is really important. So I would obviously, I'm sure anybody who's watching this video is already well sold on your abilities, Ali. But
hopefully, thanks, Jack. Anyway, thank you so much, Jack, for that. I think there'll be lots of takeaways that brands can gain from that discussion. And if they want to get in touch with Samarkand Global or you, what's the best way to do that?
You can email me, jack@samarkand.global, or you can go to our website, samarkand.global.
Okay. Great. I'll put all the detail in the notes below. All right. Well, thank you so much. That was really interesting. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Ali.